In Canada's Rocky Mountains, in the centre of the 5 largest national parks in the world, lies the idyllic city of Jasper. A gigantic conservation area covers 20,000 square kilometres, a large ecosystem in which the treasures of nature, just as with the cultural roots of North America's native Indians, are cherished and preserved. The Jasper Tramway, a funicular railway which leads up into the fantastic mountain world of the Rockies. Although its machinery is reminiscent of the rock conveyor systems of pioneering days, it meets today's strict safety requirements. Grandiose panorama from the summit of Mount Whistler gives visitors a first view of the majesty of Canada's mountain world. Whistler Road winds through fields of stones, whose barren wastes are like those of a strange planet. Driving past grotesque rock formations, the route opens up into a landscape which existed when the Earth was still in its infancy. The observer is overawed as he looks across the northernmost section of this mountain chain, which stretches across the North American continent from north to south. Like stone ramparts of an alien civilization, the icy pinnacles of these huge mountains obscure the view of what lies beyond. The whole power of the cosmos seems to be contained within this impressive view. It shows man how small and modest he is in comparison. Looking at this colossal stone cornice, it is hard to grasp that it was man who first made it possible to penetrate this amazing manifestation of nature. The conquest of this summit is proof of the kind of boundless possibilities that man is capable of. Irregular blocks of rock look like gigantic totem poles. They may have served the ancient Native American Indians of this land as a model for their burial towns, which they built at great heights. Thus they believed that the souls of the dead on their journey to the happy hunting grounds would be closer to the gods. Various stone strata look as if they have been constructed to honor the gods of nature when the rays of the setting sun touch them and make them shine in the warm evening air. They give the onlooker a feeling of power that extends beyond all human barriers. Faced with these bizarre cloud formations, man feels small, insignificant and apprehensive. Long shadows glide over the mossy floor, coloured red from the fading light of the sun, whose rays frame the edges of cloud-swept mountains. Along the Icefield Parkway, which is the dream street of the Rockies, loom the sharp edges of the mountain range. Roughly carved blocks of wood point the way to countless wonders of nature, which, like jewels, lie hidden in the heart of the mountain range. For centuries, torrents of water have carved out this elevated route through the rocks. The waters of the Athabasca Falls cascade noisily into the valley below. The life-giving water which comes from the mountains derives mainly from the melting waters of the glaciers, which were formed in the Ice Age. This region is the source from which water pours into three oceans: the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the polar seas of the icy north. Consisting of quartz, the core of rocks submits reluctantly to the flow of water. Their rugged forms indicate how they struggled, and how water and stone clashed together. Through narrow gullies, the water shoots through to a distant valley. From the rock, the water created fissured canyons. The layers of stone at the edges show the power of natural erosion, which has cut deep into the hard stone. As in a history book, each layer of stone reveals its evolution on Earth. With each ascending metre, later time periods are displayed. The Dream Road leads on through virgin nature. The abundance of livestock in this region attracted leather traders who attempted to survive as hunters. Trade also flourished with the indigenous natives of the Athabasca River, and wapiti deer, elk, snow geese and thick-horned sheep populated the land, from the vast forests, of which the occasional grizzly bear would find its way into a populated area. Just under the Sunwapta Pass are the waterfalls of the same name. The entrance to this imaginative performance by nature is signified by Indian totem poles. With romantic flourish, icy spring water shoots from the upper glaciers, spraying, hissing and cascading through the rocky formations of ancient stone. Like monsters from a mythical past, black stones suddenly appear from the foaming torrent. Higher up, wooden viewing platforms offer a good view of narrow gullies. Like never-ending currents from the underworld, torrents of water gurgle at the foot of this deeply cut crevice through a narrow opening. Inexhaustible power drives this icy current, which for centuries has been washing away at the roots of these huge mountains, transforming this narrow channel into a bizarre spectacle. Still deeper into the heart of this magical world, the journey leads onto the Icefield Parkway. Past huge wooded areas with tracks leading nowhere, in which only the indigenous Indian inhabitants and the woodland animals know the terrain. On a plain which extends 300 square kilometres are the Columbia Icefields, which include Mount Columbia that rises 4,000 metres toward the heavens. In the modern station on the edge of the gigantic icefields, final preparations are being made for the journey into the glacial regions. The icefield, which formed during the last ice age at the foot of these massive mountains, shines alluringly from the darkness of the surrounding mountains towards our distant goal. By making the journey in this huge snow coach, it is possible for even poorly equipped tourists to reach the glaciers and to get close to one of the great mysteries of nature, the puzzle of infinite ice. Experienced mountain guides greet the eager adventurers and explain the background of this wonder world of nature. For the journey into the ancient history of the Earth, there are specially constructed lifts. During the last ice age, there was a shifting movement between the stone masses of the moraine masses and the lower layer of ice which moved in the opposite direction. In some places, the power of the ice was forced up to a height of 600 meters. Last, we have reached the highest point of our dangerous journey. The inexperienced are not allowed to go any further into this relentless desert of ice. Breathless from the thin air and overcome by the glittering beauty of this frozen world, you become aware of the enormity of the experience, and that this is a region which has transformed its appearance several times in a time scale of between 1,000 and 2,000 years. Now, a quick souvenir photo. Then back to terra firma with mixed emotions. The impression of this phenomenon of nature, which seems to contradict the logic of man, remains unforgettable. Owing to the gradual thawing of the ice, water seeps through, but it is still freezing beneath the surface, under which thick layers of ice are prevented from melting. Thus, the natural heat of the midday sun protects the natural evolution of the ice. Back on the dream road, the group harbours an unforgettable impression of Earth's illustrious past. Crystal blue water lies deeply embedded in the stone basins of the mountains. The route is scattered with these tiny pools, which often catch the eye. The journey to Lake Louise crosses beautiful valleys whose flora and fauna are a delight. Both plants and animals can develop and live here freely, and there are some varieties which cannot be seen anywhere else in such pure and varied forms. This lake, which is probably the most famous of Canada's mountain lakes, is located at the foot of the 3,464-metre-high Mount Victoria, whose glacier-covered peaks shine in the morning light. On the banks of the lake, the chateau Lake Louise is well worth a visit. Its Victorian architecture is impressive. It is a bastion of human civilization in front of a backdrop of wild and romantic natural beauty. Its interior satisfies the most demanding and offers a short respite from the impressions so far gleaned from the journey. A sightseeing boat trip calms the excited expectations of the travellers. Two statues serve as reminders of those who discovered these lakes. The mountain chain which encircles the lake is a reminder of those distant periods of Earth's history when, long before the Ice Age, and because of the movement of the ocean bed, the rock transformed itself into these massive granite formations which once shimmered in the turquoise ocean. After a short journey, the funicular railway on Mount Whitehorn, where a few years ago the World Ski Championships took place. The gondola swings across fields and wooded areas into the higher areas of the mountains. We are rewarded by a particularly wide panorama, which extends across the whole of the Canadian Rockies. The modern design of the funicular was custom-made for the surrounding landscape. During the journey through the treetops, it seems as if each tiny carriage rises momentarily. At a height of 2,000 meters is one of Lake Louise's most beautiful views, which blends perfectly into the wooded backdrop of the surrounding mountains. The harmony of this scenic beauty is without equal. Gliding upwards, we are treated to the full magic of the plant world. Alpine mosses and flowers, which only flourish at this height, reveal colours which are only visible in these conditions. The journey resembles the swaying flight of a bird of prey, surveying the ground for food. Not far from Lake Louise lies Moraine Lake, which took its name from the time when the stone moraines shifted. Even now, the remains of dead and partly fossilized tree skeletons tell the story of the enormous weight of masses of boulders which fell down from the mountains and tore deep craters into the soft, sandy ground below. The stones pummeled everything that stood in their way. The holes were later filled by the thawed water from the glaciers of the higher regions and became small lakes. In simple kayaks, built in the style used by the native Indians, it's easy to turn the clock back and imagine that this is how it was with the Algonquin Indians so many years ago. In the lower woody areas of the lake's shady banks, various winged species build their nests. Because of the abundance of insects here, the area is ideally suited to many varieties of birds. Also assisting with the balance of nature, rich fauna thrives in the impenetrable depths of the lake. This facade inspired the author Stephen King to write his novel The Shining, back into Chateau Lake Louise and its luxurious interior. This wonderful chateau is one of the so-called railway hotels, which were built by the Canadian Pacific Railroad in 1886. In this small corner of paradise, far from civilization and the hectic pace of city life, it offers relaxation and comfortable accommodation. There is a large amount of Inuit art for sale, a reminder of the art and valuable natural creations of the Eskimos, who inhabited this land a long time ago. After a restful pause in the legendary chateau, the Icefield Parkway passes grotesque rock walls. 4 large national parks have their boundaries here, creating an amazing conservation area. Moraine Lake is the largest glacial lake in this area. A boat takes us to one of the most photogenic scenes in the Canadian Rockies, the legendary Spirit Islands, which are best viewed in the light of a late summer afternoon, when the conditions are ideal to capture the full splendour of the islands. The glacier rises dramatically above the surface of the lake. Its summit, frequently hidden by cloud, shows up clearly against the clear sky. Like grotesque ruins of an extraterrestrial race of giants, the peaks tower up into the sky. The Indians created countless myths and legends around these bizarre natural formations. They transformed nature into a world of fantastic and strange life forms. Recalling these legends can be a little unnerving. It is as though one is intruding into an old and forbidden secret. Centuries-old dead trees and ancient stone formations allow us to come closer to the legends of the Indians. For the few indigenous Indians who still remain here, nature represents the power and soul of the god Manitus, who took the place of the heaven-bound god to protect them on earth. The human race lives in the steps of its creator. And this important central belief to the Indian way of life is understood by all. The land greatly enriches those who experience it in all its pure and natural glory, and leaves an impression that remains long after that of the man-made, materialistic world in which we live. In the wake of the ship, we leave this land in wonderment, and also with a much increased sense of awareness of the supreme majesty, power and grace of our natural environment. The unspoiled wilderness of nature's last paradise has much to offer. Majestic mountains, deep green lakes, and the eternal ice of its glaciers. Because of the magnificence of the Canadian Rocky Mountains, the experiences of this encounter with Earth's early history carves itself deep into the memory. Perhaps this will help to increase the respect we have toward our planet and deepen our resolve to maintain its irreplaceable beauty.